Just wanted to do a quick video on the way to Recoil. Sherry and I were having discussions the other day about, well, do you remember what you asked me about? When I was talking about sacrifice and basically points of view, which was a big one. I think I had briefly talked about this, but the biggest one was about having a big goal in your life that it's big enough and important enough for you to always have something to do. And what's great about that is you always feel, when you think about it, when you think about that goal, you always have something drawing you, like a purpose. So Viktor Frankl talks about this in his book, Man's Search for Meaning. And when he's talking about his experiences in the concentration camp, that, you go through all the, he had plenty of time to go through all the mind exercises of, why did God put me there? Does God really exist? All that kind of stuff. And, really the answer is that God is not showing up. So I don't want to say God doesn't exist because I don't know that. What I can say for sure is that God is not showing up. And so that leaves, to me, two options, which is, one, you can wait for God to tell you what to do, guide you, blah, blah, blah. There's the Bible and all that other stuff. There's a bunch of religious texts. The other one is that, for me, that it doesn't matter. What does matter is that I seem to be in charge of my life, and things that my highest goals, my highest aspirations seem to be, I don't want to say reached, but definitely worked upon when I'm shooting for that. And when I think about that, and when I'm honest and kind, and all the things that they talk about in many religions about, and may peace be upon you, that sort of stuff. And, so maybe that's what religions are searching for. But back to the idea of goals, is it's very, very important, or at least I'll say that I find it important and very relieving when I have a large enough goal to work on that I always have something to do, and which leaves the opportunity of sacrifice. So to me, they don't seem like sacrifices, because to me it's obvious of what I should be working on. So whenever there's a opportunity to partake in the marijuanas or the alcohols or whatever, or an LSD orgy, I think about my goals and I go, is that in alignment with my goals? And of course you can take the same parallel and compare it to a lot of religious goals that people have. Growing up Mormon, the whole goal for them is to get to I think it's the celestial kingdom, whatever. They got 3 heavens. One is only lit by the stars. One is lit by the star and moon, and then the other one is like the top tier, fucking Ritz-Carlton of heaven, where you get to have, a bunch of wives and make a bunch of babies and all that kind of stuff. So, but and for a lot of people, that's a really big dedication. And of course, in real life, the church is just leveraging that against you and your desires for a better life, and to make money. And whether or not they're holding that for Jesus until Jesus shows up is another story. But what I do know is that God is not showing up, and God is not having a conversation or explaining things to you. So it's up to you, right? That's what it seems like, is that now if you're getting revelations, by all means, follow your revelations. God's definitely got a program for you. But if you're like the rest of us, where that's not showing up every day, and again, you don't want to sit there and interpret things and look for signs, that skews your perspective. If you can be as objective as possible that really, really helps. And so you're always evaluating, if you can, in third person, you versus your objective, you versus your goal. Now, what I mean by third person is there's like me here, like I'm viewing this, looking at traffic. I'm not really focusing on the frame view for the camera and all that kind of stuff. But then there's another view that I could see from, for lack of a better word, a third person or God's view of what I'm doing. So in God's view of what I'm doing, he's like, you know, what are you monitoring traffic? Yes, I am. Are you going the speed limit? Yes, I am. Are you, are you doing work that is going to get get you to me, that kind of thing? And you say, yes, I am. And if you can use that perspective to then guide your life, boy, I talk about powerful, and talk about having a huge advantage over other people. And then there's so many parallels that get into religion about why having the idea of God watching you all the time is important. Mostly it's because, for most people it's just so you don't, as Joe Dirt said, God's watching you touch yourself, you realize real quickly when you explore those things that it's all bullshit, and you can call your own shots, and that's a huge threat to a lot of these rackets that people have come up with, like organized religion and things like that. So, but one of the things we talk about though is sacrifice, and that's what's always great, is that it doesn't matter what situation you're in, you can always choose your sacrifice. Even if you're in a concentration camp, unrightfully, for sure, wrongly convicted, or even just wrongly just accused, you can still choose what you want to do. There's still a million options for you to pursue, and for some people that they don't like that. What's really easy to do is just become a victim and poor me, and basically give up. And the problem that I find with that attitude is that you don't ever get what you want. And I remember being in a fight with my brother one time, and I was able to negotiate with him a really good win for me. And technically it gave him, in the negotiation, it gave him what he asked for. And he was still upset. And I go, why are you upset? I gave you what you wanted. And he's like, yeah, but your win is bigger. And I go, because that's what I work on. What does that say? Nut fest? Nut to fest?
Something.
Nut to fist? Nut to fist. I don't know. Anyway, so if anything, what my response to him was, because he was like, you always got to win. And, I'm like almost 4 years older than him. And, which of course is, to my advantage. Also my birth position was to my advantage. And, but he always chose to be a victim. And, you look at his life now, and he's not happy. He doesn't have anything he wants. And, of course he'll argue with you and tell you that he's got everything he wants, but it's like, he doesn't, it's, again, he'll negotiate for the easy thing, or for the, whatever. And I negotiate for the hard thing. And when I get that hard thing, that thing that really requires a lot of effort, and, it's like, I don't know. It's just a different perspective. And again, I use the tools and the things that I learned in, seminars, training seminars, self-help, things like that to get what I want. I use all the skills. There's so much you can learn from movies as well, and situations in movies. And that's what's really great about storytelling, is the lessons that you learn. I think I watched a TikTok about Jordan Peterson saying that memory isn't to replay the past. Memory is best served, or best used, to recall things of the past to help you create a better future, by avoiding pitfalls and, maybe negotiating for something a little better or a little, stiffer or whatever, whatever you're trying to achieve. So that's what memory is really valuable for, not to reminisce. And I think that's one of the reasons why I always have a problem with the nostalgia, because it's never what you remember. It's a distorted reality, or even just memory of reality. And also, there's nothing you can do about it. It happened. It's in the past. You can't change it. And if you're not harvesting it for its value, what's the purpose of it? And again, that goes back to reflecting about, how does that compare to my goals? Am I on the path to my goals? Am I on the path to, to achieve that greatness that I think, that I hope that I can be? So that was the other one, another TikTok that came up with Jordan Peterson talking about in the last 20, 30 years, psychologists and counselors have been telling people, especially people in their 20s, to feel good about yourself. And Jordan Peterson's like, no, don't feel good about yourself. Feel good about the person that you want to be, because then you got some potential. But if you feel good about your accomplishments when you're 20, what ends up happening is you're arrogant, and you think you got the run of the race, and you're just unstoppable and all that kind of stuff. And that is completely false. And that goes back to a reference that I had about my niece and her, fiance is, of a word for boyfriend or whatever, about that they don't even know that they're alcoholics. They don't even know that the lifestyle that they're living is that of a high functioning alcoholic. And so I was telling Sherry about it this morning at breakfast. I was like, it's like telling a fish that they're wet. A fish that has no idea what you're talking about. The fish just looks around at its family and says, well, everybody else in my family seems to be quote unquote wet. And everybody I know, then and surround myself, is quote unquote wet. So what is this quote unquote wet that you keep talking about? And of course it's because they don't have perspective. And the only time it shows up is when they're out of control, and then they don't know how to recover. And of course there's, a lot of support mechanisms, including 12-step programs, to help you sort of rebuild your reality, that maybe you weren't doing it right the first time. But that, again, that takes humility, and that takes all these skills and compromises, that you're not as great as you think you are, and you don't know as much as you think you do. And I don't know. I just wanted to share that stuff with you, and I wanted to share some. That's basically my Sunday sermon. So, and of course, as soon as I label this Sunday sermon, 0 views, and it's funny too. The again, it's, I don't know what it is. It's a lot of younger black men that they sort of diminish or pity me for making videos like this. I know it's not just young black men, but I know it's that's who seems to comment, of course. So I'd love to see the metrics on, views and things like that and whatever. But I get a lot of comments from young black guys that basically like, don't tell other people how to live, but here they are posting on the internet telling me how to live. And then the other one is, like they make the assumption that I'm doing this for money. And it's like, I'm not doing this for money at all. Like, to me, I feel wealthy enough, and I'm not talking about monetary wealth. I'm talking about just spiritual, emotional, masculine wealth, that I can share things with you guys, and I can help you. I can tell stories to you, so that you find the value in these things, and they stay in your memory, and you use them to avoid the pitfalls and the dangers that I've seen in my life and in other people's lives. And that maybe that you can do better. And because it really only takes one person in your family to make it big, to create a huge difference for generations. And I'm not even talking about legacy. I'm just talking about like the financial and the networking that you can do if you fight these demons, and if you figure out a path through the oppression and through the the devices that are in society to keep you down and molest you and harvest your work and your efforts. And those things are everywhere. So, but that was it. It's Monday. The weather's good here in Phoenix anyway. Some of you guys are reporting snow, and I'm like, sucks to be you. But it's sunshine. We're probably gonna have a 100-degree day this week, and I wanted to stop off at Recoil because I've been trying to do reviews on the powered 12-inch sub that we're selling, and I think Recoil's selling it for $130. I'm selling it for $120 shipped, and it comes with a wire kit and a bunch of other stuff, and it's just a really great opportunity. And I think about my motivations for telling you guys about Recoil and things like that. I would love for you guys to start your own brand and create value in the marketplace, and also create competition for these. I don't want to say established brands, but for these guys that are, much bigger than you and are just raping the shit out of the client. And again, you can't rape the willing. And there's always going to be brands like Focal and Hertz and Audison and JL Audio and Rockford Fosgate that just they're popular enough that they can be mean and take your money. So. But it's not that they're evil. It's just that I want to provide an alternative for you guys, because I had to find my own path and I had to find my own way. And I was telling Sherry this morning about how hard it was exiting the Air Force, because Sherry asked me, this was in '97, and she's like, would you have stayed in the Air Force had they treated you better? And I was like, oh fuck yeah. It was a cake job. I had really great weekends. I only worked 20 hours a week. And the best thing about being in the military, especially on a base like Hickam in Hawaii, was the weather and the chance to go see beaches. And then they had a really great support system to help you live a better life. And that's the whole point, is that as a community, they come together so that you forget that you're obliged to sacrifice your life for your country, and you're obliged to do what the fuck you're told to do, and then you can look beyond that and still find a niche that you can exploit so that your family can succeed. And I was like, oh fuck yeah. I was like, it was an easy job, and I would have loved to cross train into something else, or do another job at a different base, but I'm me. And when I took that personality test, and that lieutenant, man, she was like, you should not be in the Air Force. Like, almost like I slipped through screening. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to say I'm retarded, but I'm definitely high functioning retard, where my IQ test was like 110. Like, I'm not smart by any means, and as far as an intelligence quotient, but I'm also I'm not some drone. I'm not some sort of cog. I'm not comfortable being a cog, sucking the corporate dick. That's not what I'm comfortable doing. And I feel something inside of me that needs to come out. I mean, not like a big I'm gay kind of come out, but there's definitely, like, I want a better life, and I think I can do it. Like, at the end of the day, when I think about, as I was talking to Sherry about this, I was kind of coaching her, because she gets really overwhelmed with life and with a lot of tasks. And I was like, you can't think about the whole thing. When I think about my situation, that I'm trapped in this property because, if rent is $3,500 a month and I make $3,600 a month, I'm never going anywhere. So you don't think about that. Don't think about that sort of gloom and doom. Otherwise you'll be overwhelmed and you won't have the energy to fight, because it's like, what's the point? But you have to think about hopeful things, and that's what is really good about having a goal that is almost unachievable, almost. And that sort of ray of light that you see every day, and all you have to do is think about it. It doesn't have to be like a picture on the wall, even though those things help, the visuals and the, what is it called, the goal collage and all the things that you can make. Those, of course, those things are supportive, but I don't recommend spending a lot of time on them. But it's about being focused and about having chores and doing those things and executing them, and saying, here's another. You basically, at the end of the day, you do your best, and then you sit down when you're getting ready for bed and you go, what could have I done better? What did I really do my best? Did I really feel physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually exhausted that I did my best? And the answer is always no. There's always something I could have done better. And so you don't beat yourself up. You just go, okay, well, let's get some rest and try this again tomorrow. So, but and that's what you can work towards. So a really good, I guess, visual of that is Tom Cruise's movie that I forget her name, what he did with her. This is the Time one. It's based on a Japanese anime where it's like they're storming the beaches of Normandy. Emily Blunt. So I really like that one. I think they could have turned that into a series or something like that. But it was a really exciting movie, and I really like it. It's one of my more favorited Tom Cruise movies. And but that's what life is getting up and doing all the routine, so that you can have that good position in life to then, I don't want to say flex, but to then start making changes, to start exploring what you didn't the day before. And so the only thing you can do is do your best. That's all you can do. Don't think about the whole thing at once, because it doesn't happen that way. Just think about what you can do in today, what you can do in the now, what you can do this afternoon, and focus on it. But again, you have to have that big goal that is almost unbelievable, almost unachievable, in order to always have something to work on. And then what you do is then you reference it against what is in front of you. Like, should you go out to drink after work and blow your paycheck on whores and weed and drugs? Well, that's a no for me. And then, when somebody says, well, I believe in God and all this kind of stuff, and I want to go to heaven, you kind of laugh at them, because you're like, what you're doing is not going to get you to heaven. There's no heaven. God's not showing up. So you got to pick a goal that is a tiny little selfish and a little bit just kind of gets you excited about thinking about it. And of course, I have multiple goals like that, and I've shared those with you guys. But in this video, it's not important about my goals. It's important about your goals, and those things got to be important to you. And so then you work your way backwards, and then that's where you start working towards it. You go, okay, well, this month I have to do whatever. I have to do $6,000, $8,000, whatever it is, in order to get to the next level. And you work towards that, and you start making that. Some of you are stuck in jobs that just fucking suck, man. And so then I ask, well, what do you do on your time off? And then that's where you have to sacrifice. Do I go spend time with the kids? Do I spend time with the wife? Or do I blow it on going bowling and barbecues and bullshit like that? And you're going to lose a lot of friends if you're on that path. I'm telling you right now. The wonderful thing is that to me, it's worth it. And those people weren't really friends in the first place. It's really difficult to surround yourself with people that think better of you, that sort of bust your balls a little bit and tell you you can do better, because deep down that you can do better. And that is very rare to find people like that. And I found a lot of you guys send me positive messages. I don't want to use the word positive because then there's negative, but I just want to say affirming messages that you're making changes in your life, and you're doing better, and that you can do better. And whether or not you make it to the goal, it really doesn't matter, because you're always going to run out of time. So, but if you plan it right, you can pursue a goal that is big enough that you, number one, remember, and we talked about this. This is the three goals for a successful life, which is number one, to leave home. You have a goal big enough that you can't be around people that you can't be around people that you grew up with, or that see you in a way that isn't the person that you want to be, right? Because when you were a kid, you're a lot different than there's a little bit of the seed of being the same person, but you definitely want to be different than the way that you were treated when you were a kid. At least that's where I fall into place. So you got to leave home, and then you got to find your truth. You got to find why you're here. And in Sherry and I's relationship, she still has not found that goal, and she thought that goal was about having kids, And we've talked several times about, that's still possible. You just got to have a lot of money. Fucking Barbra Streisand has cloned her dog like 4 or 5 times now, and it's like 10 grand a pop. And the same thing can be with humans, where Sherry and I don't have to be fertile in order to have a child. You just take a DNA sample from me and her and you blend it, and then you get to pick the best cookie of the batch, and then you put that in somebody else to grow, and that's only because we haven't figured out a way to do an artificial womb. Then the baby grows and gets pooped out, and there you go, there's a baby. And Sherry and I are 80 years old. And it's like, it's unfortunate that we're 80 when we start having kids, but I see that as a really, again, almost unachievable goal. And of course, quote unquote normal people will go, oh, that's impossible, oh, you blah 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 blah. And I'm like, it's not. And I solidly believe that I am from the last generation that will think about death. That death will be an option rather than just an eventual consequence. The technology is there. It just, especially when you listen to some of the stuff that not just Elon is spouting out about, but then when you do the research behind what he's talking about, you're like, wow, it's really fucking there. It just requires a lot of money. And so again, my goal is not to pursue money for money, but it's just a tool in order to achieve the goals that I want, which is going to the moon, and I'm willing to compromise on that. I'm willing to be the janitor on the moon. So, and if you haven't seen Sam Rockwell's, was it 2009? Sam Rockwell's 2009 Moon movie. It's beautiful shot. It's wonderful, and it's really it's a great sci-fi twist. I'm sure you can watch it on Hulu or some sort of streaming platform. So, but again, that's my goal. It's a little selfish, but not super selfish. And at the same time, I'll be serving a lot of people and doing good in what I want to do. Now, to get there, that's where I want to run Starlink Studios and make a bunch of movies. I want to make $100 billion for Tesla. And that's completely possible when I think about all the monetization that I can do and bring really great products to market. I just have to figure out a way to bring it in a way that is popular. So if I launch a lot of the products that I want to launch now, it's not going to go anywhere. The only thing I have is the .com, and that's not enough. So again, I guess it would be like the equivalent of saving up a big goopy load for 3 or 4 days. That was my dad's talk to me. He's like, I go, where do babies come from? He's like, well, first of all, son, you save up a big goopy load for about 3 or 4 days, and then you just cap it in her and just give it to her. And it's like, okay. So, and he's exactly right. You save up a big goopy load for 3 or 4 days, and then, when she's getting that itch and she wants to grind up your wiener with her cervix, then that's when you give it to her, and that's how you make a baby. So, in theory, anyway. I don't know. I don't have any babies yet. So, but yeah, save up your load, and then when you finally, you can see the same thing in a movie like Ender's Game, which is the exact same thing, which is about sacrifice and cunning and using everything in your life in order to achieve the impossible. And it's not impossible. Impossible things get done every day, and so you have to decide if you're willing to sacrifice for those things. So that's my Sunday sermon about sacrifice. I love you guys. I'm here to pick up some cool stuff. This palette actually in front of me is the R6P, which is the powered stereo pair outdoor speakers with a very tiny Class D 2-channel amp, and it also comes with RGB controllers for lights and things like that. They're really great for the UTVs, razors side by side. And I think that's the one I was telling you about that should retail for right around $400, but I think they're going to sell it for about $350 on Amazon. So I'm going to do a follow-up with Larry today. Sometimes when I ask him for pricing, he doesn't quite know. Like, I was really surprised at the pricing on those, the 4-channel and the monoblock on the D1 series for Recoil. I was like, wow, that's really fucking cheap, man. That's like below dealer cost. Like, are you sure you want to do that? And then, they're fine with it, because the margins on that, the profit on that is way better than, if they sell a set of ring terminals to you. On a set of ring terminals, they make like 50 cents or $1. And then on the amp, they probably make about $15 to $20 each. And so, and if you're moving, 1,000 of those a month, that's good money. So, but anyways, I hope to bring you guys along. I really want to set you guys up so that you're a bunch of independent guys that are able to run their own show and have your own say, and help you make a better life for you and your family. So that's my intent for these videos, and that's my intent for this channel. And I got some good ideas coming up about the Temple of Esther. You guys can Google that, and some other great ideas that I really want to put into play. So sometimes it's about timing. Again, I've saved up a big 3-4 day goopy load, and I'm ready to shoot it all over you guys. So I love you. I'll talk to you later.